Module Overview. Introduction. The tripod of political economic vulnerability. Political economy operates in the real world, and the real world is often chaotic, unpredictable, and filled with institutional flaws. At the heart of underdevelopment in many countries lies a deadly triangle: political risk, systemic corruption, and weak governance. This module unpacks the sources and categories of political risk, the mechanics and anatomy of corruption, the tools of governance reform and anti-corruption strategy, the impact of these factors on economic performance, capital flight, poverty levels, and international reputation. It is impossible to design effective economic policies without understanding the forces that threaten or dismantle them from within. 2. Understanding political risk. Definitions and typologies. Political risk refers to any threat posed by political decisions, events, or instability that negatively affects economic activity, investment, and policy continuity. Types of political risk. 1. Regulatory risk, sudden changes in laws, tariffs, or taxes. 2. Expropriation nationalization risk, government seizure of private assets. 3. Conflict and war risk, internal or international armed violence. 4. Electoral uncertainty, unpredictable election outcomes, violent transitions. 5th. Leadership risk, abrupt regime changes, coups, assassinations. 6th. Institutional risk, dysfunctional legislatures, courts, police. 7th. Civil unrest risk, protests, riots, sectarian strife, insurgencies. 8th. Reputation risk, international sanctions, travel bans, downgrades. 3. Political risk in economic decisions. Political risk directly shapes foreign direct investment, FDI, decisions, currency stability and capital flight, investor confidence and bond yields, cost of borrowing and insurance premiums, private sector innovation, and long-term planning. Case example. In Venezuela and Zimbabwe, hyperpolitical volatility caused mass business closures and wealth destruction. In contrast, countries with predictable and transparent governance, like Sweden or Canada, attract stable investments even in economic downturns. 4. The structure and typology of corruption. Corruption is the abuse of public office for private gain. It erodes trust in institutions, rule of law, budget integrity, economic competitiveness, human development indices. Typologies of corruption. 1. Petty corruption, survival-based, bribery at police checkpoints, hospitals, or licensing offices. 2. Grand corruption, elite-driven, multi-billion-dollar embezzlement by top officials, e.g. oil revenue looting. 3. Political corruption, vote buying, party financing scandals, legislative bribery. 4th. Institutional corruption, entrenched culture of kickbacks in ministries or parastatals. 5th. Corporate corruption, tax evasion, collusion, insider trading, procurement fraud. 5. Economic impacts of corruption. Investor deterrence, high corruption risk increases cost of doing business, wastage of public resources, ghost projects, white elephants, inflated contracts, human development stagnation, health and education budgets, diverted, weakened competitiveness. Local businesses can't compete fairly, regressive fiscal policy, tax burdens shifted to honest payers, brain drain. Youth and professionals migrate from corrupt systems. 6. Political corruption and democratic backsliding. Political corruption distorts democracy. Elections become transactional, not ideological. Qualified candidates lose to wealthy sponsors. Citizens disengage and lose faith in politics. Public appointments are based on loyalty, not competence. Institutions are weakened, allowing authoritarianism to creep in. In Nigeria, Kenya, Brazil, and parts of Eastern Europe, corruption has undermined the very democratic processes meant to prevent it. 7. Governance. What it really means: governance is the process by which decisions are made, implemented, monitored, and revised in a way that is transparent, accountable, inclusive, and efficient. Key pillars of good governance: rule of law, transparency, participation, accountability, effectiveness, and efficiency, equity and inclusiveness, anti-corruption enforcement. Good governance is the antidote to political risk and corruption. It fosters development, economic justice, and long-term prosperity. 9 anti-corruption strategies: what works and why. Effective anti-corruption measures: public asset declaration by officials, open data and digital procurement systems, whistleblower protection laws, independent anti-corruption commissions, civil society engagement, e-governance and digitization of services, media freedom and investigative journalism, reform challenges, political interference, elite capture of enforcement agencies, fear of retaliation, judicial compromise. 10 case studies: corruption versus governance outcomes. A. Singapore. From corruption-prone to global transparency leader, created powerful independent anti-corruption agency, CPIB, high public salaries, strict penalties, transparency systems. B. Nigeria. Endemic corruption across oil, customs, police, and public works. Reforms like EFCC, BVN, TSA, and IPPIs are gradually improving transparency, but political interference and weak prosecution still plague effectiveness. See Denmark and Finland. Top CPI rankings due to deep-rooted transparency culture, strong institutions, civic education, and open government policies. D. Rwanda. Low tolerance for corruption, digitized public services, high leadership accountability, though concerns over political freedoms exist. 11. The political economy of reform. Corruption persists not due to ignorance, but because it benefits entrenched interests. Any anti-corruption reform is therefore a political battle, not just a technical process. Keys to reform: political will and leadership commitment, citizen pressure and mobilization, international partnerships and monitoring, incremental wins over systemic overhaul, protection of reformers and whistleblowers. 9.12. Conclusion: governance is development. No nation can truly develop without confronting its political risks and institutional decay. Governance is not a technical exercise, it is a moral, political, and economic imperative. Strong, transparent, inclusive institutions are the foundation of national wealth, the guarantee of justice and stability, the protectors of human rights, the engine of economic diversification and innovation.